Hi, this is DarkFox127 and welcome to another Skyrim Creation Kit tutorial video. Today I'm going to be redoing my Innkeeper tutorial because the last one wasn't that good, not very detailed and pretty much rushed, and I've had a request to redo it, which I was going to do anyway. So as you can see, I'm just in nav mesh mode here. I'm just going to take that out. I'm going to zoom out. I've just created a basic in here. So the first thing that you really want to do is going to open your Skyrim ESM file and your update one if you want. And then if you're editing a current mod, click on that mod and set as active file, or you're going to have things disappear, and when you load back up, everything you've done is going to be lost. You're going to have a lot of problems. I'm already done, so like I said, basic in here, nothing in there. It's just to show you guys how to do it. Once your in is actually created and you've got everything in there and you're happy with the items being placed and you're ready to start getting your NPCs working, then you just want to go into nav mesh and you want to go into nav mesh generation. Make sure you've clicked into the void first, like I haven't there. You want to go generation and recast and then click OK. Now, I'm not going to do that because I've already done it and it'll cause problems. You usually have to clean your nav mesh up a bit. I have got a nav mesh tutorial if you want to go and root through my videos and find that, or I'll put a link in the description. That'll be better. One thing that you will have to be sure that you do so that you can get in is when you've actually put this to the outside world, then you'll have to select the triangle that the sort of the entry markers on, and you'll have to tick that tick button there. All that's done in nav mesh tutorials, so I'm not going to go into that too much. So to get started, we're basically going to need our own innkeeper. Just first make sure you have got a bed in there, which you should have when you come into this stage. So we're going to go under actors, we're going to select actor. Going to let this load up. Going to right click and go new. So we're going to make our very own actor. Now what you can do, you can actually go to Hulda, I think it is, because she works in the Bannered Mare in Whiterun. If you just double click on her, you'll see what sort of things are on there that need set. Now you'll notice a script here called Rent Room and Dead Body Cleanup. You don't need the Dead Body Cleanup, that's for basically if she dies. So we just need the Rent Room script really. So we're going to cancel that off and we're just going to go ahead and add that into here when it becomes available. Which it isn't. Okay. Best thing to do, just duplicate Holder. Edit that. Then you can just go ahead from here, go on to make sure you're on traits tab first, click preview. You've got Hulda there, male or female. You can just change all this later, but to begin with I'm going to start with name, so we're just going to edit everything from here. That's better. Bob. I make my innkeepers and merchants, everyone like that, I make them essential so that they can't die, because it's really annoying when they die and nobody replaces them, and then you just can't even rent a room there. We're going to get rid of that body cleanup. Rent room script, we're going to work with this in a moment. We're going to get our actor finished first, but this is pretty important. So traits, we're going to keep it as Nord. We're going to have a male innkeeper, because you don't get many of them. I don't think, anyway. I'm not going to change that. We're going to go weight as 40. Damn, Hulda was fat. So voice type, we're obviously going to want a male one. Now voice types you've got to be careful of. It's the same as the followers. You can't just go ahead and have any voice type, only certain ones are going to work with it, so you just want something nice and simple like even toned. Disposition, we'll just whack that to 78 to be nice and safe. Just check around. I think that's pretty much it, so we're going to go ahead to stats. Don't really need to bother with stats, to be honest. But vendor pawnbroker is a good one to pick. If you are just duplicating Hulda, then all this is a good idea to just check through. It should be fine. They don't need to be in any battle condition, so we'll move on. Now factions, if you're creating someone from scratch, then you're going to need to set all this. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the ones that we don't actually need, so we're going to remove some of these. Services Bannered Mare. You need this Job Rent Room faction, Job Merchant faction, Innkeeper faction, not that one. Crime faction Whiterun we don't need. Crime factions are basically how they react when you steal things, so they should call to guards that are within that faction, so it'd be Whiterun, then all the Whiterun guards should come running in. We're just going to go ahead and set all these to 0. So you press F2 on them and then click 0. Relationships you don't need to bother with, same with keywords. You can bother with relationships if you want someone going around doing the sweeping up and you want them to be sort of their boss. You can do that, but I'm not going to go into that. Unaggressive, neutral, just make sure they're not aggressive, make sure there's no aggro radius. Go through that, check that through. Should be fine, shouldn't have to set anything in AI data, especially if you copy and haul there. AI packages, we're just going to remove all those because we're going to want our own. Inventory can be left, that should be fine. He seems dressed pretty respectably. Spell, sound, animation, attack data, that can all be left. You can go ahead and edit all this. Check out my followers tutorial if you want more info on how to change all this. But it's pretty self-explanatory. It's no different to making your own character in game, just a bit more detailed. But you can go through this and change the look of your character. I won't be. So, yep. Got our guy Bob ready. Okay, now he looks a bit funny, but we'll leave him like that because that's kind of cool. Right, so we'll go ahead and click OK. Click no and then yes. So we've got Bob. Now you're just going to want to drag your innkeeper in now. Now we haven't actually finished setting all the factions, but there's a few things we need to do first. So what we're going to do is we're going to need a merchant chest for them to get all their stuff from, the stuff that they're going to sell. Again, you're probably better off just copying other merchant chests. So just type merchant into the filter, go into all, and you should be able to find a chest which is to do with an inn. So we know we've got one in Whiterun, so that's the best place to go. So there we go, Banded Mare chest. Just double click in that and check that it's got what you want. That looks about right. So we're going to right click and duplicate. We're going to edit that. Going to get rid of that. We'll put merchant DF127. And you can leave it as chest. You're not going to actually be able to go up to this chest in the game. You can do that, but I'd recommend that you lock it and requires a key and not make that key available, because if the player can get into the chest, then it's going to cause all sorts of problems, and you don't want them to be able to sort of steal everything out of there. So you're pretty much done there already. You can start adding your own items into the list if there's certain things that you want them to be able to sell. We'll go ahead and click OK, and no then yes again. We have to find out our merchant chest, so we'll just go DF127 into the filter to go and find it again. And you're going to want to put this chest out into the void, nice and close to your NPC usually, just to make things a little easier to sort of navigate. So we're going to dump that there, we're going to drag it just outside into the void, put snap to grid on, just have it nicely sort of placed just behind him outside. So the reason that we have to make sure everything's nav meshed is so that he knows where he's going, and he can navigate around the inn, and he's actually going to not appear if you don't have this nav meshed. And something else I'm just going to note with nav mesh, before we go and tell him how to sort of navigate to the room, one thing that's good to do, and you don't have to do this, but if you want him to navigate through the inn a bit better so he's not walking into the poles or getting confused as to where he's taking you, you can highlight the triangles and click that button there. And this button basically says toggle preferred paving, and you can just make a path through the triangles up to the bed within the room that you're going to be renting, and that will just help them sort of guide you there, so they'll have a preferred path basically. I'm not going to do that, but that's a good thing that you might want to check out yourself. Another thing, sweep markers, we'll do that in a moment. I think the first thing that we're really going to want to do, we're just going to get the merchant set up. So he's going to need his own faction. So to do this, I know this is all very confusing, but if you just follow this through, it's really quite nice and simple. You're going to go under character, under faction, right click, go new. We'll just wipe that filter out as not to cause any confusion. ID, so we're going to go merchant Bob faction. And you should be under general to start with, and you're going to want to tick can be owner. You don't have to really set anything else in there. Ranks and crime you can leave. Vendor, you want to tick vendor. Now this is where things get a little more interesting. You're going to want to start and an end hour, So we're going to start at 8 in the morning, and then we're going to have them finish at about 7. No, 5, that'll do. Well, no, actually not 5. We'll go up to late, like 10 o'clock in the evening, because it's an inn. You're going to want them available for sort of buying and selling things. You'll be surprised that most of the innkeepers in Skyrim don't actually have many packages. They just stand there, sell stuff all day long, and that's probably a good idea, but I prefer mine to be a little more realistic and give them some kind of a life. You want to go into location and edit, and then you want this as near self. This is pretty important so that they are actually always able to sell things no matter what location they're in. Because if they just wander off from like the editor location and you go up to them, they're not going to sell you anything. So we'll go ahead and click OK. Now you want to select reference in render window for the merchant container, and first of all you just want to make sure that you've got your container visual, or you're going to have some trouble. And you just want to double click that container and just check that it says the correct thing, which it does. So that's good. You want to just pop into the vendor list and type in vendor, and we get to a nice list here, and then just hit the innkeeper one. You can put do not buy or sell, which basically changes sort of the amount of available things that you can sell to them yourself. You usually just want to leave that unticked for like an innkeeper. That's usually ticked for like miscellaneous item selling, someone that sells everything, like a general goods store. So we're going to leave that. You can put like vendor conditions, so you'd have to be part of a clan to be able to like buy things from them, but that's a whole other kettle of fish that we're not really going to be going through. So you just want to go ahead and click OK. And you might have guessed now that we need to go back to our actor Bob. So back to our actor Bob, and we want to double click on him, and we need to now add the faction that we've created for him. Now like I said, factions you can also add where if you've put you in like in a local town or something, then you might want to add like crime factions and stuff and then set them in this list here, but again that's something else that we don't need to worry with right now. We're basically going to be adding this faction that we've made then, so just type in Bob, you should find it, add that in. So he'll now use that faction, and he'll know what time he can buy and sell stuff, and what chest he's using to what items he's going to be providing you. So we're done there. Another thing that I didn't do in the other one was actually like sweep markers, so he goes about and does other things. So I'm also going to cover that in this tutorial. We're just going to go on to rent room script next, and you'll remember that I mentioned the bed. This is where this is really going to come into play. So you need to click on bed, and you've got to wonder, how do they know what room they're renting you? So it's actually a really simple system. So you want to go to the bed that you want to be able to rent, and actually the first thing you want to do, you want to double click that bed, click on ownership, and just make Bob the owner, because if you don't do that you wouldn't have to pay for the room. It wouldn't be owned, and you could just sleep in it. This way, what this is now going to do, when we select this bed, like that, just check it's done it, yep, click OK, we're saying that that bed will become unowned for the whole day when you ask to purchase it. So that should be good. That will work then, but obviously like I said, you have to have it owned to begin with, otherwise there'd be no point paying for it. So just double check everything's OK, which I think it is. Oh, go ahead, click OK. If you get any warnings, just ignore them, click yes to all. Actually made me jump a bit, that did. Just having to think. So I think really the next thing that we really want to do, we want to set them some sweep markers up. So these are basically called idle markers. They're just markers which are usually set to specific NPCs or anyone in general within the area that's set to a sandbox. They can go up and use them and do whatever the idle marker specifies. So if you just want to type in the word idle, then you want to go into all, set the show, and these ones with the funny green sort of symbols are all these idle markers. Now you're going to get a lot of other stuff show up, but we want this one here, the sweep idle marker, and you just want to drag and drop that in, and if you don't see it appear, click on something in your cell and tap M for markers, because you'll have markers turned off, and I do an awful lot of the time so that I can sort of get to things in the world. And you just want to really tap F, make sure it's floored, put on the floor, move it somewhere in a relevant position, and this is pretty important for your innkeeper now. You want to double click on it, click ownership, and then set it to your innkeeper. Otherwise, anyone in the inn, anyone that's visiting or just made their way in there, they're going to start using it, and they're going to be sweeping up when it's not their job. So you want to go ahead and click OK. And that should automatically mean that the only person that can use that idle marker is Bob himself. And if you set to sandbox, which we're going to do in a moment, he'll see it and he'll be like, I'll go and sweep up, and he'll start using it. So that's what we want to do next. Again, we want to go back into Bob. Oh, that didn't sound right. And then we want to go AI packages. Now, with everybody's packages, you usually want one package that it can always fall back on and have them act a little more human. So you want to go right click and new, and we're just going to create a nice little package for Bob, and I always call it the wonder package because they just wander around and do whatever they want. And what you're going to want to do, you're going to go package template, just select sandbox, and this is basically they can wander around the place and interact with idle markers, other objects, chairs, tables, and do whatever they want. You can set a load of other options here, like are they allowed to eat and sleep while they're in this package. So if it was a work package, you wouldn't want them eating or anything, you want them doing something productive, something work-like. We're just going to leave this as sandbox. Schedule you'd usually set if it's only a certain time of the day they can do it, but this is like a fallback package, so it can be done at any time. When you've set that, you just want to click location and radius, and we're just going to increase that to 1024 so it covers the whole in pretty much. Then go ahead and click OK, and we're just going to make one more little package here. And actually, to be honest, no, that should do. You can go ahead and make your own packages. I have got a tutorial on packages which you can go and watch. I'll probably be doing a new one soon, just a little more updated with a bit more information. But just make sure you've got one package in there to let them wander around, and he should now go and use that sweep marker. In fact, you'll probably walk into the inn to test that the rent room's working, and you'll probably find that he's actually already sweeping when you walk in. So we'll go ahead and click OK again, and that should really be it. So yeah, that's it. Should be it really. One other thing to mention, which someone's actually sort of taught me recently, if we just go back to Bob in the list, click on Bob, and if you've ever experienced when you're making your own NPCs that they end up with a grey face and they look a bit funny and textures aren't loading, you're not getting scars that you've put on the face, basically just go ahead and click Control and F4 over that, click yes. It should say OK, and you've basically exported the face data, so it's not going to be pulling a basic standard grey texture onto their face, and that actually fixes the problem pretty much. So make sure that's Control and F4, not Alt and F4. You're going to have some problems there. We're pretty much done, so you're going to want to go ahead and save. First of all, actually, one other thing I am going to note: make sure that you've got a COC marker within your new inn. That way, when you actually go into it, like for testing purposes, you're going to get pulled to the marker rather the last object that you placed down, and we're just going to dump that somewhere. Now we're going to save. Now I'm just going to nip in game, show you our innkeeper working. Should be able to sell us stuff, rent us a room, and everything will be working quite nicely, and hopefully we might actually catch him using the sweep marker. So I will see you in game. Okay, so here we are in my new custom inn, and as you can see, our sweep marker's working really nicely. Sometimes they can stand there for a little too long, sort of sweeping, but if you've got more markers then they should interchange between them. So if we just go up,
what do you need?
We've actually got a really cheerful fellow here. Now, if we check what he's got for sale, he should be selling all the usual things that an innkeeper would sell. And you can sell him stuff, but I've literally got nothing on me, so...
Sure thing.
So we'd like to rent a room. There we go.
I'll show you to your room.
And he's now going to show us to our room. As you can see, he's sort of
Let me know if
a cross-dressed version of Holder, because of how we just sort of changed straight to the a male version and we didn't change anything, but you shouldn't have that problem. He looked a bit dodgy, but there we go. It works. We can actually sleep in the bed, and after 24 hours it should sort of be locked again and say that it's owned and you can't use it. So as you can see, he's actually gone back to sweeping because he's got nothing better to do. But thanks very much for watching. Hope you found the tutorial helpful, and I think this was a lot better than the older one, definitely. So please visit my website. I've got a few mods up. I've got a pretty new successful mod at the moment, which I'm currently updating, called Enchanted Arrows. Go ahead, check that out. I've got a lot of tutorials sort of lined up, a lot of recreations to do with tutorials. And thanks for watching. I'll speak to you next time.